Hey everybody, it's Mike with Wild Games, and today I'll be grinding up some of the dry aged venison. I'm gonna cut it with bacon. I like to use just a low grade bacon for the fat content. You can also use beef tallow, pork back fat, anything you pick up from your local meat store. But I just went to the Walmart and grabbed some low grade bacon. I like to use the hickory smoked, just whatever works best for you. I usually cut it 1 pound of bacon to 5 pounds of venison. This bag right here is about 6 pounds, so I'll do a little less than this whole pack. I'll probably do 2/3 of this pack because it's a pound 8 ounces. Something I found that works for me is bagging up my grind piles in like a gallon Ziploc bag, so that way it keeps it somewhat thin. So when I'm gonna put it in the freezer, it keeps a low profile. If you over freeze it to where it needs to be broken up, it will be easier to cut when it's in a flatter form. So just keep that in mind. Today I'm gonna be using this knife. It's the original Buffalo Skinner. My buddy and fellow veteran Larry McCracken with Mill Creek Outdoors, he had made the handle for me out of a mule deer shed that I found. And I picked up the blade at a Pioneer shop in Manitou Springs, Colorado. So this is probably going to be about 2/3. There's nothing wrong with using a little bit more bacon. I'm just gonna cut my bacon into cubes, and I'm gonna put it all in a bowl and mix it together, and then I'll go ahead and get it to the grinder. If you're new to grinding venison, or any meat for that matter, it's best if you freeze it for a little bit so it gets a little firm, and it'll also keep your grinder cool. So I had this bacon and this venison in the freezer for probably about 30 or 40 minutes. And I also put my grinding components in the freezer as well to keep the gears cool. It just helps it run better and longer. Depending on how much you're grinding, really depends on the care you need for your grinder and the meat. And my grinder is the feeder is a little bit small, so I have to make sure I cut my pieces up smaller. It's not a commercial grinder, but it works for myself and my family. If you give me a minute, I'll get my grinder set up and we'll go from there. All right, everybody. I'll be using an L.E.M product. It's 1/4 horsepower, so it's on the smaller side as far as grinders go. It is a Bass Pro King of Bucks. And like I mentioned earlier about the size of the mouth, it's not very large. So you have to make sure to cut your pieces of venison up in this particular model into smaller pieces. Here's my mix. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn on the grinder and I'll start feeding it through. I'm gonna do a coarse grind first, and then I'll do a fine grind afterwards. As you can see, frosty. I had it in the freezer for a little bit, make sure it's good and cold, so it'll help it run a little bit smoother. All right, another thing about grinders, you really get what you pay for. The last one I had was made by Game Winner, and it was rather loud. This one is a lot quieter, and I feel like it's a little bit more efficient. I usually try and do like a somewhat even mix. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be all right. See what I mean? How it's too much. All right, and as you can tell, you know, even some of these pieces were a little bit too big. So, you know, you just gotta make sure to cut it up smaller. This is the coarse grind. I'm not gonna bore you guys with the rest of this meat right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up, and I'll be right back and show you guys what the fine grind looks like. All right, everybody, this is the coarse grind. It took me all of, I don't know, like 5 or 6 minutes to knock it out. I forgot to mention earlier in the initial setup, whenever I install the plate, the auger, and the cutting blade, I like to use some cooking spray. It just helps it flow a lot smoother, especially with bacon, because bacon can get kind of stringy and it'll clog up the plates. And like I mentioned a couple times before, the feeder is very small, and so is the plates. The plates aren't very big at all. I mean, they're not much bigger than a Pam can lid. So spraying the components will really help with the smoother grind. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a good hand mix, and then I'll run through a fine grind and show you guys what it looks like. All right, everybody, I'm about to go ahead and start the fine grind. Once it kind of starts going, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out and complete it, so I don't have to bore you guys with a bunch of wasted time. You know what? I forgot to change the plate. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. See the difference between that and that? All right, everybody, here's the finished product. This is, you know, about 8 pounds of ground meat that I didn't have before. So just being able to harvest this animal and process it myself, that's the real reward. It's not about the antlers or the trophy aspect. That's just a bonus. But for this food to nourish my family, that makes it well worth it. Well, guys, it's Mike. Next time I see you guys, I will be doing burgers, but I will be doing patties with the dry aged venison, as well as some just regular venison that I already have done. And we'll do a little comparison on the density, the consistency, as well as the taste. Until next time, guys, it's Mike with Wild Gains. Stay blessed.